new ideas, new identity, new tactics, and just the overall a new feeling around the club, if you will. And I am very curious to see who he starts. I'm not going to go on to tell you like who I think is going to start. Everybody's doing that video. There is something at play where they have to make Champions League. And if they don't make Champions League this year, then they might be out by next year if they don't make it again next year. I mean, when I say out, remember in their agreement with the Glazers can force them to sell their shares as soon as the Glazers find another buyer. Capital companies don't sell shares if they think that they're going to make money. Now, with what happened recently in U.S. politics and the stock market is taking a big bump, Manchester United stock isn't. Okay, so capital companies are going, this stock's not worth holding on to. If capital companies think this stock's not worth holding on to, I'm pretty sure the Glazers aren't happy about that. I feel like next season is going to be like the open season on the Premier League. I feel like next season is going to be a season where anybody could win. And honestly, it was probably like that this season. I know Liverpool's off to a pretty good start, but I think that if we had a good team, like I said, we're only 4 points behind top 4. Amorim is in the building. Amorim is here. What's up, YouTube? Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Semeex Football. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for all the likes and comments on the last video. And let's get right into this one. Amorim is in the building. And INEOS paid a lot of money for him. They paid about 10 million euros and add that to whatever they had to pay Erik Ten Hag and the rest of the coaches to have them leave. And you have a very expensive transition. Hey guys, so what you were watching right now was actually a video that I recorded 3 or 4 nights ago now, and I was trying to get up a video for you guys and post it on Tuesday night so you guys had a video on Wednesday morning to watch, just like I promised in the last video that I posted. But as you can see there, if you look clearly, I was out of focus, and my camera was too busy focusing on Lenny Yoro the whole entire time, which I understand. If I was my camera, I'd much rather look at Lenny than look at me, but I didn't want to post something where I look all blurry and it looks very unprofessional, and I'm not that good at this in the first place. To even look worse wasn't something I was willing to do, even though the girlfriend and the friends were telling me to go ahead and post. All people care about is more content. It's just not the way I feel. I feel like if I can't put out the content the way I want to put it out, then I'm just not going to put it out, and we'll wait 2 or 3 days and then we'll put out a new video. So anyways, let's get right back to the subject. Why did INEOS actually pull the trigger so fast, get rid of Erik Ten Hag, not keep Ruud van Nistelrooy on, even though he's actually not doing that bad, and get Ruben Amorim in as soon as possible so they can start this project over again with the new manager, even though it costs more money to do it this way? I believe it all comes down to the agreement they have with the Glazers. The agreement they have with the Glazers doesn't give them forever to do whatever they want. They have a time or a ticking clock, let's say, where things have to turn, profitability has to go up, and maybe even for football success. I believe that football success probably goes hand in hand with profitability, so they go hand in hand. But, you know, bottom line with the Glazers is probably going to be net worth and profitability. So because of these things, INEOS had to act fast. They don't have a lot of seasons to waste. They can't not finish in the Champions League this year and then not finish in the Champions League next year. So they need to make sure they get this next summer right. And they do that by getting a new manager in as soon as possible, having him work with this squad, seeing what is missing and what he needs so that in the next summer they can plan ahead. Now, mind you, we're only 4 points behind third place. We're in 13th place right now, but we're only 4 points behind third place and fourth place. So we can finish in the top 4 if this manager comes in and suddenly we start winning games, a lot of games, because we're going to need to catch up. And we can start climbing up the table and actually finish in the top 4 spots. So there is also that reason of getting him in as soon as possible to try and salvage this year and see if we can finish in a Champions League spot this year. Not to mention, we're still in the Europa League, and if we win that, we get into Champions League. But I am more interested in actually seeing if this manager can climb up the table again. 4 points is not much. We have 27 games left, I believe, and we need to make up 4 points. You have 27 games left to make up 4 points. You have a chance. You have more than a fair chance to make this happen. And your next game is against Ipswich, so you should be getting a win out of that game. I'm actually very curious to see how we play that game. I don't think we're going to blow them away. It would be great if we do. Maybe we get that new manager bounce and we blow them away. But I'm more interested in seeing this new identity that Ruben Amorim in his interview today said that what he hopes that we all see from that game is a new identity tactics. You get to understand what it is he's trying to do, and playing a little bit differently. That's really cool to hear him say, and I'm glad he said that, and that's what I'll be looking for. I'll be looking for new ideas, new identity, new tactics, and just overall a new feeling around the club, if you will. And I am very curious to see who he starts. I'm not going to go on to tell you like who I think is going to start. Everybody's doing that video. Everybody's made the video where Garnacho's playing wing back or whatever. I don't know who he's going to start. I know a little bit about Ruben Amorim. I know that he likes pacey players. I know that he likes intelligent center midfielders. He likes the Sergio Busquets and Xabi Alonso types. He doesn't actually in an interview. It wasn't an interview, a podcast I listened to today. I forgot the name of the podcast, but I'll try to link the thumbnail to right now, right here somewhere. In the podcast I heard, in this one, it was with a journalist from Portugal who actually knows Ruben Amorim really well, or at least has been following his career and knows some of his quotes. And he says that Ruben Amorim was quoted as saying that he doesn't really prefer the Casemiro type, and he'd rather have the Xabi Alonso or Sergio Busquets type, which is pretty funny because now he has to work with Casemiro, and I think Casemiro is probably our best center midfielder that we have in the squad right now. I am sure he wasn't saying he doesn't like Casemiro, because he also said in that interview, in that podcast, that his coaches preferred a Casemiro type, that he would have these conversations with his coaches, that they thought the world of Casemiro. So it's great. I don't think it's going to be an issue. That's not why I'm bringing this up. What I'm bringing this up for is because we start to understand that in his wider players, he's looking for a lot of pace, and he's looking for attack-minded, pacey players. And in his central players that play a little bit behind those three forwards, he's looking for intelligence. He's looking for people who can make a good pass and be intelligent as to which way to move the ball and how to control the tempo of the game. That's what Busquets does so well. Busquets' best attribute is he controls the tempo and the pace of the game. Everybody plays on Busquets' rhythm if Busquets is on your squad. And if you don't, it's chaos. You have to let Busquets be the maestro, if you will, and play the team to his rhythm as he sees fit. He knows when to slow the game down. He knows when to speed it up. The guy is a midfield genius. And Xabi Alonso was that way too. A little bit different, but definitely a smart player who knew when to take it all the way forward and when to slow it down and pass it sideways. And that's what I think he's going to be looking for. And we're going to probably need to bring one in for him. And again, I'm jumping the gun here, and I would promise myself I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to share my theories or whatever, because again, everybody's making a video that does exactly that. What I wanted to talk about was more along the lines of what INEOS have to do and the time that they're on, the time crunch they're on, and why that's so important, and why I know that there is something at play here. There is something at play where they have to make Champions League. And if they don't make Champions League this year, then they might be out by next year if they don't make it again next year. I mean, when I say out, remember, in their agreement with the Glazers can force them to sell their shares as soon as the Glazers find another buyer. And I'm sure the Glazers can find another buyer. Now, here's the bad news. Lately, we've heard that two investment companies, holding companies, capital companies have sold off their shares of Manchester United, right? So I've got some notes here, so I'm just going to look down real quick. Eminence Capital LP and Pentwater Capital each sold 4 million shares each, 4 million plus shares each. So somewhere between 8 to 10% each of Manchester United shares. Capital companies don't sell shares if they think that they're going to make money. Now, with what happened recently in U.S. politics and the stock market is taking a big bump, Manchester United stock isn't. Okay, so capital companies are going, this stock's not worth holding on to. If capital companies think this stock's not worth holding on to, I'm pretty sure the Glazers aren't happy about that. Okay, so the Glazers they got into this agreement with INEOS so that INEOS can make their stocks more valuable, not so that INEOS can make their stocks go down or stay stagnant. That's not the point. If that's what's going to happen, then there's no point in making an agreement in the first place. So this team needs to generate more revenue. It's not going to generate more revenue from sponsorship or otherwise if they can't qualify for the Champions League. And the Glazers aren't going to wait forever. So there's definitely something in the contract. I just don't know if it's stipulated by the end of this season or if they have until next season to ensure that they're making Champions League. It might, for all we know, if they don't make Champions League by the end of this season, the Glazers can already exercise their right to force INEOS to sell to a different buyer. We don't know. And it's kind of exciting not knowing, but watching INEOS move so quickly. These are the guys who came in and did nothing but budget cuts. I mean, we even heard stories the other day that they're doing budget cuts on the programs that help disabled people. They're cutting that in half from $40,000 to $20,000. So they're doing something to save $20,000 that used to go to some sort of disabled program for disabled people. 20 grand to save money instead of giving it to some sort of project for disabled people tells you that these people are definitely thinking about every dollar and every cent that goes into the company and where it goes. And they're trying to be as efficient as possible and cut down the expenses as much as possible. We already know that. They made a ton of layoffs when they first came in to save 20-something million pounds. Now, all of a sudden, they're willing to spend 20-something million pounds to get rid of one manager and get another one in as soon as possible and not wait till the summer where it might have cost cheaper. That tells you that their backs are up against the wall, that there are some stipulations like making Champions League that is super duper important that they have to pull off. And that should excite you because that's the kind of pressure I want every owner to have. I wish the Glazers had that kind of pressure. Obviously, that doesn't exist, but I wish every owner had the kind of pressure where it's like you either perform or you're no longer the owner. Imagine that. You either perform or you're no longer the owner. That's great. That is music to a fan's ears. And even if you back INEOS, if they can't perform or make the right decisions, see, I hope that timeline extends to all the way to the end of next season, not this season. But I agree that if by next season they, again, make decisions that don't lead to us qualifying for the Champions League, then they should go. The INEOS should go. And I wish it was like that with every owner we've had. Every owner of a top team, I wish it was like that. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. It's only the staff that goes, not the owners. But this is good news. It's not bad news. Now, they got in a manager who I believe in, and I think we all believe in. We're all excited about. We all think that this man can actually make a difference. This guy has proven in the past that he can go to teams that are struggling and find his way and fight his way back up to the top and put this, he put Sporting back at the top of the mountain in the Portuguese league after 19 years of nothing. So maybe he can do something similar for us. With that said, he's not going to be able to do something similar for us if INEOS and the footballing department don't continue to make good decisions and bring in good recruitment. On that front, we're hearing stories about a lot of young players being linked to us this January, like Martin Baturina, Sver Nippon. I don't know how to say these names, but Sver Nippon seems to be a really good player, but he's 17 years old. He's not the reason why we are or we are not going to make Champions League spots this year or next year. A 17-year-old is not going to be the person who's going to help us next year when he's 18. I like these buys, don't get me wrong, but we're not at this stage. I don't think we are, at least. So they want to bring in all kinds of young talent, and I understand that. With Sekou Kone coming in, and with Chibo Obi Martin, Chibo Obi Martin that they brought in. Yes, these are exciting buys. They're great for the future. Lenny Yoro is different because Lenny Yoro can contribute from this season, and I really think Lenny Yoro is going to contribute as soon as possible. So I don't put him in that category. But these other players, they're not going to help us in the next 2 seasons. Not that much. And I think we need to start to shift our focus, or INEOS needs to shift their focus as to bringing in players who are somewhere around the ages of 23 to 26 and that can help contribute right away. You have Jamal Musiala, who's rumored to be leaving Bayern Munich this summer. You have Alphonso Davies, who's rumored to be leaving Bayern Munich this summer. And everybody thinks automatically that both of them are going to end up at Real Madrid. Just Real Madrid doesn't just get to get every single player if you compete against them, if you offer a bigger contract, if you offer more sign-on bonuses and fees. Now, you might be thinking, why should we overpay or pay more than Real Madrid? Because You are not Real Madrid. We are not Real Madrid. And there were some stories that leaked out, 2 weeks ago now, that we actually did offer the job to Thomas Tuchel, and he actually turned us down. So Thomas Tuchel turned us down, and then there's a story that came out just a week ago that Roberto De Zerbi put up a contract offer from Manchester United to show his players after a game and said, I didn't take the money of Manchester United because I wanted to coach a team with passion, and that's why I came here to Marseille. He turned us down to go to Marseille. Now, obviously, it's probably not because of the money. Maybe there were some stipulations that INEOS demanded that these guys didn't want to forfeit or give up to come coach us. But that's what's going around. There's stories going around that managers turned us down and either stayed unemployed like Thomas Tuchel until he got the England job, or went to Marseille like Roberto De Zerbi. Now, I don't know if these stories are true, but they're floating around like they're true. It's not. There's not rumors on Twitter accounts that have no what do you call it? Like the stories are coming out from reputable places, so you can say that there's some truth to them. Maybe we did make offers over the summer. Maybe we were going to get rid of Erik Ten Hag. And can you really look me in the eye and tell me that we were not thinking about getting rid of Erik Ten Hag after all those rumors that they interviewed like 500 managers to take his job? And then when they got turned down by maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of the ones they wanted, then they went back to Erik Ten Hag and went, actually, we think you're the right guy for us. Well, that's because the 3 other guys we wanted didn't want the job. And now, in that podcast I listened to from the Portuguese journalist, he says Gyökeres would rather not play for Manchester United, and that if he came to Manchester United, it would only be because he loves Ruben Amorim. But he would rather play for a Premier League club different than Manchester United, or go to a Real Madrid or another club outside of the Premier League. We are not the hot ticket we used to be. We need to prove that we still got it. Ruben Amorim needs to take us back to the top 3 of the Premier League, and then we'll become a hot ticket and players will want to come to us. So yeah, with that said, if we need to offer Alphonso Davies 5 extra million euros as a bonus to sign on, then that's what we should be doing instead of talking about Bournemouth's Kirkic, or what are we saying now? Starting Garnacho as left wing back? Okay, maybe if it works, I'm okay with that. If it works, fine. But Alphonso Davies, I guarantee works. I don't hope it works. I guarantee works. There's a difference there. Just in that, right? Just in that statement, telling you I guarantee that it works is a lot more different than going, hopefully it'll work. Hopefully he'll learn how to play that position in the way Ruben wants him to play it. But if it doesn't happen, I do hope it works out for Garnacho. I actually like Garnacho a lot, and I think he's been taking a lot of stick. And I hate this man for doing all that shit talking that he did in person. But let's move on from that because that's been a while now. What do you guys think, by the way? Am I crazy? Like, do you agree with me? I love seeing these young players who have a lot of skill linked to us, and I love hearing that that's what INEOS wants to do. But I can't help but think we need 3 players that could come in and contribute right now that are within the ages of 23 and 26 or 27. So, yes, I want the majority of our transfers to be young players, but we've got to, actually it should be 50-50. I don't think it should be the majority, but we've got to bring in the veterans first. Like, we need to fill the holes first and then get the kids that are going to learn and grow into those positions. No? Isn't that better? What do you guys think? Let me know. Here's the most exciting part. The thing that's been on my mind for like the last 2 weeks. The most exciting part is that next season, I feel like next season is going to be like the open season on the Premier League. I feel like next season is going to be a season where anybody could win. And honestly, it was probably like that this season. I know Liverpool's off to a pretty good start, but I think that if we had a good team, like I said, we're only 4 points behind top 4. We could have probably been in the mix if we had a good team from the beginning of the season. But with that said, I think next season is going to be like an open season. It's going to be an exciting season. I feel like Liverpool is going to lose some of their key players. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold's not going to be there anymore. Van Dijk's getting older. Maybe he will leave. I think that Liverpool is going to have a little bit of a rebuild to go through. And their owners don't really spend that much. And their rebuild, let's say they need 3 or 4 positions filled. Their owners will probably only fill 1 or 2 per summer. So they'll take like 2 or 3 seasons to do that rebuild. And then Arsenal, I don't know. I'm hoping that the rumors I'm hearing about Saliba being looked at by Real Madrid, because Real Madrid need a center back. They are desperate for a center back, at least one, probably two. They are dying to get a center back. Now, they're going to spend almost no money getting Alphonso Davies if those rumors are true. And I think Jamal Musiala might not cost them that much unless he's playing out his contract. I can't remember when the end of his contract is. I can't remember if Musiala's contract ends this summer or the following summer. And if it's this summer, then Real Madrid will make a small offer. And if Bayern don't take it, they'll probably have an agreement with Musiala to play out his last year and take him for free the following year. I don't know. It just seems to be like Real Madrid's MO to get people to play out their contracts and then go to them for free. Anyways, they need a center back that they're willing to pay for. They're dying for a center back, and I think they're looking at Saliba. So if they take Saliba from Arsenal, I think Arsenal becomes a lot weaker, and now Arsenal will have to spend more money on center back, which will basically keep them from spending money up on the front line where they also need to spend money, because I don't think Havertz is any good at all. So I don't think Arsenal is going to win it next season. And then the big blue annoying neighbor of ours, I don't know if Pep Guardiola is going to hang around after this season. Even if they fight all their way back and win the Premier League this year, which they possibly can. I'm never going to count them out. And I hate to say it, but Liverpool and Man City, I think, are the two that are going to fight for the Premier League this season. Our two rivals, my two most hated teams. But anyways, even if Guardiola fights back and gets his way at the top, he might realize this is a lot of work. He's exhausted. He needs some time off. And if he falls short and doesn't finish first and Liverpool win it and he finishes second, same thing. He might realize this needs a rebuild. And it doesn't look like Man City is going to spend a whole lot of money rebuilding for Pep, because they know that either this is his final year or next season's his final year. So they might bring in one or two players for Pep, but if Pep left, I think they would have a little bit of a clear out and start rebuilding with a new manager, and that might be what they want to do. And that new manager is probably not going to win in his first season. So that counts out Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City in my look. This might be wishful thinking. Let me know in the comments if you're following along with me or if you think I'm out of my mind. This might be wishful thinking, but I don't think Arsenal. I think Arsenal lose William Saliba, but even if they don't, it's Arsenal. I just never would bet money on them winning, because I don't know if they'll rebuild the front line the way they need to. They just lost Edu, their sporting director. Whoever is in there right now is going to need time to adapt and figure out the scouts and know who to trust and who to listen to and all this kind of stuff. So I just don't see Arsenal winning next season. Liverpool, I think they're going to lose Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's also linked to Real Madrid. It's funny how everybody I talk about is somehow linked to Real Madrid, and they just know a year in advance what they're going to do, don't they? Real Madrid puts their eye on a player and goes, next year we're taking him, and they let his manager know, his agent, know, and it's like all the dominoes fall in the right place for them. Now, unless someone like us comes in and sticks their foot in and offers Alphonso Davies more money or something like that, it makes it a little bit more of an interesting negotiation for Real Madrid to try and negotiate out of. Anyways, back to the subject. I think open season next season, we might go from finishing hopefully in the top 5 this season to actually challenging for a title next season, just because of the circumstances. Now, I know I've been discounting Chelsea and they're playing better with Maresca or whatever. I still don't think they're going to be a 100-point team next season. Let's put it that way. I don't think anybody's going to get more than 85 points next season, 88 points easily. I can't just sit here and tell you automatically I think this team is going to have 90-something points next season. I don't think Arsenal is going to have 90-something points next season. I don't think Liverpool is, because I really do think they're going to miss out on Trent, and they're going to need a little bit of a rebuild. And I think Mo Salah's gone too. I forgot to mention that. I think Mo Salah's gone this summer, and that's a big loss for them. What do you guys think, man? Drop it in the comments. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for hanging out. I'm sorry I didn't post a video on Wednesday. I didn't want to post a blurry video of my face on Wednesday talking. I will make another video this Tuesday. You'll have one on Wednesday of next week. Thank you very much. for clicking. Please like and subscribe. That's what keeps me interested and motivated to keep doing these. And drop the comments below, because those comments are what gives me ideas as to what to talk about. When I see an interesting comment, I write it down in my notebook. I keep a note of it, and hopefully it makes it into the show, or at least I build around that subject and come with more information. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye, guys.